Thursday, 1 p.m., and I'm here to bring you this week's news in technology, digital media, social media. Today, I'm a little bummed out because I was supposed to be in Iceland, and wouldn't you have loved this live to have been from Iceland? And I had to cancel because Iceland is usually very expensive, and this time was crazy expensive. We got a quote for a car, and then when I went to book it, it went from $1,000 to $4,000 a week. Yeah. And everything's gotten expensive. I hear this from everybody. Car rentals are just through the roof. So I get it. I'm going to go next year. But instead of spending my birthday in Iceland, I am here in Chicago and happy to bring you this week's news. And since we're talking about expensive things, we're going to talk about the Q2 reports from Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I'm going to talk about what it means to you and your marketing, because the results are going to answer a pretty big question I've been getting recently. Why are my ads becoming so expensive? Or why am I getting outbid so much? Or why am I not seeing the same results with seemingly pretty good campaigns that worked well up to now? These reports hold the key to the answer. Yeah, let me use extra words there. These results hold the answer to that. We're also going to talk about something exciting from Campbells, their NFT collection, and just a bit of news from Twitter. If you're tuning in for the first time, these are going to be very brief, so don't go. And if you're about to go, just give this a thumbs up so that others can find the content. And I'm going to dive in. And as always, because I'm going to talk about a lot of numbers, because I love numbers, I'm going to use my notes so that I don't screw up these numbers, because they are big. Google reported their ad revenue increased by 69% to $50.4 billion. Big numbers. And YouTube ads drew in $7 billion for an 84% increase over the same period. That's roughly 68% year over year for the search network. And YouTube brought in $35.8 billion. And YouTube Shorts, TikTok lookalike, surpassed 15 billion views, daily views, which is a pretty good number. So really big numbers from Google. But what that's telling us is that advertisers are spending more. In fact, the three categories where advertising spend went up were travel, media, and entertainment. And it makes sense because travel got hit hard in the past year. Media, people spent a lot more time online. So there were great opportunities for media companies to push for more subscribers. So it made sense that those categories went up in spend. But overall, we're seeing an increase in spend. And as we look at the other networks, we're going to see that same trend. So if you're wondering why you're spending more or seeing more competition, it is because there is more competition and everything has gotten a lot more expensive, just like my Iceland car rental. Before I move on to Facebook's report, though, this just came in. Google has opened the beta interest form for Performance Max campaigns, which bring together the best. They with their advertising, it brings together the best of Google automation to help advertisers drive more conversions and conversion value across all Google's channels: YouTube, display, search, discover, and more. So if you want to try it out, the beta interest form is out there. And I can see if I can find a link and put it in the comments below so that you can test it out. Moving on to Facebook. Facebook posted strong revenue results, but not as good as the other social networks and not evenly across the world. They're stalling in key markets, US being one of those. They added 30 million more daily active users in Q2. However, that number has stayed flat in the United States. I want to show you something really interesting from Facebook's report. I give them props for transparency. When we talk about, we complain about Facebook, we complain about all the social networks, but look at how much money they're making per person from us. So if you look here in the middle of the screen, you're going to see average revenue per user by quarter. So in Q2, they made $53 per user. $53 per user. So when we talk about having too much advertising on these platforms, about the user experience not being great, about Facebook blocking certain things or not allowing us free speech, I also want to remind you that they're making a lot of money off of this. And if we wanted this to be free, or for this to give us a cleaner environment for us to do whatever we want on there, we may have to pay for it. So the alternative to what Facebook is right now would be a subscription-based Facebook. After all, Facebook is an entertainment company. And if you think about the likes of Hulu, you can get the shows at a small fee, but with ads, or you can get the shows ads-free. And in the Facebook environment, they're making money by showing us advertising, and it's the value of it is about $50 per person per month, per quarter. So it could be, a subscription could possibly be $200 a year. They also announced in their report, I'm quoting from the report, again, props for trying to be transparent and giving us the answers clearly, that their advertising revenue growth in the second quarter was driven by a 47% year-over-year increase in average price per ad. I'm going to say that again. 47% year-over-year increase in average price per ad, and a 6% increase in the number of ads delivered. So from a business perspective, from a marketing perspective, right there, the answer is clear as daylight. The reason why your ad spend has increased, or why your results have decreased for the same ad spend, is because they're just more expensive, and more people are running ads, or more businesses, or the same number of businesses are running more ads, but we're seeing a 6% increase in the number of ads delivered. So there's a lot more competition. Everywhere. LinkedIn's results are pointing to the same thing. Their revenue increased by 46%, of which 97%, they've seen 97% growth from marketing solutions. Marketing solutions is the advertising arm of LinkedIn. So there too, businesses are spending more money. So the cost per click, the cost per conversions are probably going to go up. That doesn't mean that you should give up or not do it at all. You just have to get smarter. What we see in a lot of cases is that companies have targeted very narrowly. And in some cases, we have a client that works in the grocery delivery space. Well, everybody eats. The temptation at first was to go very, very narrow. And when you go narrowly like that, especially in certain categories, there's a lot of competition. So you're gonna pay more for those ads. And I'm trying to use very simplistic terms. So in many cases, you want to start broader. That's going to reduce your cost per result. That's also an ideal scenario for testing, so that you can learn and then narrow things down smartly, not start with assumptions and pay a lot when those assumptions may not, pan out. So it's time to get a little smarter about how you do your ads. If you'd like a review of your data, I'm really good with data, so send me a message and I'll see if I can help you out. But don't give up. Just know that you may have to increase your budgets or accept that higher cost per acquisition. Moving on. Campbells. Campbells is launching new labels, new packaging. And for those of you who are particularly in advertising, and I know some packaging specialists out there, you know how important that is and how much work and detail goes into that. Us consumers, we take that for granted. But great packaging can make a huge difference, can be a huge differentiator, especially on the shelf. So Campbell's is launching new labels. You can see them here. And as part of that, they launched an NFT collection of 100 pieces called American, by Sophia Chang x Campbells. And it was available, it was released on the 27th of July on Network. So what I love about this is that the news in itself is great marketing. For those of you who are wondering, how do I use this whole NFT thing? If you don't know, NFTs stands for non-fungible tokens. In very simplistic terms, it's digital art. but unique digital art that you own the rights to, that you own, and it sits there on a server. Our grandchildren are going to find this dusted NFT in a corner of a server and look back on it and go like, look at this Campbell's can. Why are they saving this Campbell's can? So that's what's happening here. So I love what they're doing, because it's just, as a consumer, it makes me think that now when I'm going to be in a store, I'm going to want to see these labels. And then maybe that's going to tempt me to buy one of the cans. I'm not really into canned foods, but there's a curiosity factor there. They definitely caught my attention, which is why I'm sharing this bit of news with you. So here's a case study on how to use NFTs for your business, especially if you spend a lot of money on your labels, as many companies do. And last but not least, Twitter. They're trying out e-commerce. Now, when you saw those numbers from the other social networks, how much they're racking in advertising revenue, you can blame Twitter for trying all sorts of new things. Earlier in the year, they launched these business type accounts, and now they're launching tests with a few retailers with a shopping feature. So you can see here right below the bio, right below the description, you have a shopping feature. You can buy your products. Twitter tends to try to test out a lot of things, and then they pull back very quickly, which I think is a smart move. So we're going to see if this works out for them, but they're definitely feeling the pressure of the competition coming from all angles. There was more news this week from the social media world, but I feel like every week I talk way too much about TikTok, way too much about Instagram. Instagram did increase their Reels time length to 60 seconds. So you have more of a canvas to express your creativity. And TikTok added more features to their live features, and there's been, a few news from Pinterest about pin tags on their platform. But I'm not going to dive too deeply into that. What I really wanted to get across this week is that if you are worried about your advertising spend, there are some answers to that. It may not be your fault. It may not be your creative. It may not be your targeting. It may simply be that there's a lot more competition out there. And that in itself should be a driver for change, for doing things better, for more test and learn models. But don't give up. And as you prepare your budgets for later in the year, for next year, do consider an increase. So that's this week's news. I'd love to know what you think or what questions you may have. I am working on an episode about live streaming, and I'm hoping to bring on a partner from Restream, which is a platform I use for streaming, to answer your questions, because I get a lot of questions and I'm not a pro. I've just sort of dived into this and I'm doing the best I can, and I try to tweak things every week. And just what makes me happy is to know that there is a place for a bit of news from everywhere that I can bring to you in a fast format. But if you have questions about live streaming, I am happy to bring on the experts and answer those for you. So let me know what your questions are in the comments, or send me a message at Manamika on Instagram, or here on the LinkedIn platform where I'm streaming from mainly. And all questions are welcome. So send them to me. If publicly is not your favorite thing of going about it, just slide into my DMs and I will bring experts to answer them for you. Give this a thumbs up so other people see the content, and I will see you back here next week.